Hey guys, and welcome back. I am so excited to share how I made this painted acrylic welcome sign with you. The fonts and supplies are all located down in the video description, and please make sure to subscribe to my channel to see more DIY wedding signs and decor inspiration. So one of the reasons that I am excited to share this design is because it was published in Junebug Weddings, the event that I was a part of. It's called Big Fake Wedding. They invited me to be a vendor back in 2019 for their April event, but of course with the current environment they had to postpone that, and it ended up taking place in September, and it was at one of my all-time favorite wedding venues, the Woodlands. So Big Fake Wedding is basically a wedding trade show in the form of a fake wedding, so the attendees are able to see all of the vendors in action. I was brought on to do all of the signage for the event, including a few welcome signs, parking signs, directional, venue restrictions, all of that good stuff. We did have a mood board to go off of and base our designs from, and this is one of the ones that I came up with. Of course, this one says Big Fake Wedding, but you can always do two first names or Mr. and Mrs. or some sort of saying to greet your guest if you are using this as a welcome sign for your own wedding. To apply these decals, I am doing the same as always, using the hinging method and letting the tail fall off the side. So that is something new that I was trying on this sign, was kind of like having the excess tail on the end, and then I ended up adding a extra piece of transfer tape on to that, so whenever I flip it over, I am easily able to trim that piece off. Once that is trimmed, I just have to flip it back over to remove that extra piece of transfer tape on the front. Okay, so we are moving on to the paint, and I do want to mention that I was trying to get a paint palette for Christmas. Actually, I have been eyeing the Sylvan Clayworks paint palettes. So check her out, her website out, or maybe I shouldn't even tell you because it's already hard enough to get some, and I have literally been trying for months now. So her next restock isn't until February, so I am waiting to buy a nice paint palette from her. But in the meantime, I am still using the styrofoam plates that were left over from a client's rehearsal. But hopefully soon you will be seeing some of those fun paint palettes. So for the paint mix, I am just working on getting the base one. So I'm going to have a base color, and then I'm going to have one shade lighter and then one shade darker. So once I got that blue somewhat like I wanted it, I was then able to mix up the lighter shade and then the darker shade. The blue out of the bottle was quite like electric blue, and that was not the look I was going for. I wanted it more of a muted look, almost kind of like a winter snow. So I did end up adding in a few different grays to dull that out. So this darker color here I am actually using on the second welcome sign for the event. So there is quite a lot of paint. You most likely are not going to need that much for just one sign, but just a rule of thumb, when you are working on signs like this, just mix a little bit more than what you anticipate, because it can be really hard if you have started to apply the paint to your piece, and then if you have to go back and mix more paint and whatnot. It's just so much easier if you have all of the paint that you need pre-mixed. So I have my sign flipped over, the decal is on the front and facing downwards, and I am applying the paint on the back side. So I like using this large sponge. I use this for all of my sponged signs that are larger, just because it is such a large sponge. It doesn't take quite as long as some of my other supplies, but I mean, as you can see, this is in like 4 times speed. It does still take quite a while, but working pretty quickly, I get that first layer of the lighter blue on, and this is going to be towards the bottom of the sign, but I actually still left some of the clear, so the very bottom of it, like you could actually see through the acrylic and onto the other side. But I just applied the lighter blue and then moved on to the medium blue and just kind of blended that together, almost kind of like if you were to think of, I don't know, putting like makeup on and you're blending your blush in with your foundation, kind of like that. I just kind of put it on and then start blending it down while it is all still wet. Of course, the lighter color that is on there already, that is going to show first on the piece because that is what I applied first. And then the rest of the paint is basically just another layer on top of that. So once I do the middle, I then add the top and basically bring that all the way down just to help give it a more solid look. And once that is completely dry, I am taking that darkest blue that I had and doing a single coat along most of the back side of it. I am not going to drag it too far down because I do still want it to be pretty light and then totally clear on the bottom of the acrylic. But you can see here, I am just kind of dragging it down and gradually letting it fade off. And if you want to seal your sign, I like using a polyacrylic. This is a clear protective for the paint, so it is going to go on top of your paint layer. Your vinyl does not need to be sealed with anything. The vinyl that I use is outdoor acrylic, so it is perfectly fine even in the rain. But if you want to have some extra protection on the painted portion, then you can always use something like this. It's super easy to apply. Just wait until your paint is completely dry. I even wait overnight until I add the sealer to it like this, because if it's not totally dry, it can pick up and start shifting your paint. So I just dip a foam brush into the can and let it drip onto the paint, and then I gently brush it on to coat the back. And once again, because I want the bottom portion to be completely clear, I did avoid that area, because if you do put polyacrylic, even though it is clear, it will show brush marks. Shoots and events that I am hired for are always a little intimidating since I am able to go wild with the designs, but I really enjoy doing these because I get to do something different than my traditional wedding signs, and I was really happy with the results and how this looked at the Woodlands. Let me know your all's thoughts and if this video helped you down below in the comment section, and I will see you guys soon.